Bush? Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. That's the approval of the agenda and order of business is the first item. Does anybody have anything to add or? Okay,
New Ross Family Resource Center.
okay.
And just Church Memorial Park report.
Anyone else? I have one item, and that's the statement concerning the in-camera sessions of council. The agenda is amended.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion's carried. Now on to something good. At least I hope everybody gets good about it. 40 years later, or whatever the case. But this is employee recognition. Congratulations.
Really?
Dan, you want to come with me?
I'll come with you.
And I'm going to guess that the first one you're going to give me is Dan Pittman, 10 years. Dan, you want to come up? Thank you very much. Pleasure. There, you gotta stay here. And those clothes were good.
Congratulations, Dan.
Now we're moving on to 15 years. Jen Swimmer. Knew he was in the building for something. Oh, where's my, oh, there's, sorry. Congratulations and thank you for your service. Hard to get him in with me. He's up here. Nick Singh. Oh, Nick's not here?
Congratulations.
That's the way to make an entrance.
And Christine Collier. No checks to sign?
It's great to see you up here.
Okay, 20 years. Debbie Stevens?
Where's Debbie?
She's here.
Corner.
Tammy Ham.
Tammy couldn't make it this morning.
Couldn't make it.
Yeah, didn't want it.
Now we're moving way up. 30 years. Jennifer.
Jennifer's not in.
Not in. Didn't I see her?
She was here. Yeah, she was.
She couldn't come in.
Couldn't come in.
30 years.
She's not.
Oh, she's still not feeling very good. Well, I was just over talking. Just that hell at 40 years.
Don't I look good for 40 years?
Come on up, get this thing.
Thanks.
I thought you'd have your monkey off with her on.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Now we're back to the 40 years.
I'm still in the same school.
Yes, you are.
Same job, same everything.
Thank you.
Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you.
I like that. That's the answer.
Okay. More serious stuff now. Well, actually, input, public input, Carol Noss. Jennifer's not going to read that, I don't think.
I can read it.
Oh, you can read it? Yes, you read it.
So Carol writes, dear council members, I'm unable to join you today for the council meeting, but wish to inform you of the future plans that the Chester Municipal Heritage Society is working on for 2023, and to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year. This plan revolves around developing the freight shed at the Chester train station into a railway museum. To date, we've received a donation of the caboose by the Bruce Nowlin family of Tri-Province Enterprises, Moncton, New Brunswick. Second, they had the caboose moved by Phil Leal's company to Chester. A rail bed was constructed, ties were laid, and the caboose was moved to its permanent site in front of the station next to Smith Road. This has been accomplished through grants from the Daniel Hahn Trust, Chester District Municipal Individual Councillor District Grants, and donations. The remainder of the project to complete the development of the Railway Museum is contingent upon money through grant applications and donations, which we are currently working on. The following are items still to be addressed. First, construction of the platform between the station and the caboose. Second, completion of the construction plans and pricing. Third, installation of a ramp, an accessible porta potty, and a new entry door for accessibility at the freight shed. Fourth, installation of electricity in the freight shed. Fifth, repairs to the outside of the freight shed and painting. Sixth, installation of a railing on the current steps into the freight shed. And seventh, an increase in accessibility parking for the station and the freight shed. This is a large project for the Chester Municipal Heritage Society to assume, but we are determined to make this a reality. Our location next to the connection trail, easily visible, and currently the Chester Area Tourist Bureau, our description of it, and the 2,000 to 3,000 shoppers at Station 20 make it an ideal tourist destination and promotional location for the village and the municipality. We see this development as a win-win situation for everyone. It matches our mandate and offers tourism information for the village and municipality. Yours truly, Carol Noss, Chair, Chester Municipal Heritage Society.
Thank you for the update, Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's keeping busy.
Did she ask for money there?
Not a bit, yeah, no. No, and yesterday I even got a letter from her with a picture of my father from 26 years ago.
Never know.
She's officially receiving her award this afternoon, the Lieutenant Governor's Citizenship Award. I forget the official name. There are two recipients in the municipality of Chester, one from New Ross and Ethel Peener and Carol Noss. So that ceremony is taking place at the Ross Farm Museum this afternoon.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, minutes of the previous meeting, cancel November the 24th. There is a omission, Steve. Huh? Motion to approve. Oh, good.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, motion is carried. Some stuff here, I gotta keep track of some of that. Proclamations, or none that I'm aware of. Committee of the whole, December the 1st. What is that?
Motions.
Oh, yeah, there was just a bunch of some motions, yeah. Yeah, so there's a variety of them there. Does anybody want to separate it from the block?
Of course I do.
Okay,
22,506, it's the one on. That's the comment that I've made. I know everyone's in favor of, but I just have some comments.
somebody prepared to move the adoption of the remainder?
So moved.
Second, discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried, okay, 506.
I'd like to make a few comments just before They want to pass it. I'm not against arts and crafts. I want to make that very fair to everybody. You know, I know you think maybe I don't support that much. But it's the opposite. I think I do support them. I think before we make a decision, we should have that group in, at least to discuss what we're trying to do for them, because we haven't done that. The last time they've been, I think basically was for the large grants. I just think we need to have them so we can talk to them, they can talk, you know, what to do moving forward with the money, that type of thing. I'm not sure if council as a group really looked at their budget and what revenue and their expenses were for the last budget update we had from them, and that they were asking probably plus $40,000 or $50,000 that last budget we got from them. They have $400,000 or $500,000 in the bank, which I imagine is for building fund, but I don't know that because I wasn't told that. I just think that we move forward a little quick, and I think Councilor Vina is right. That is part of our mandate. But if it is, I think we should be directing staff to go out and come back with a plan of how we're going to deal with arts and crafts. Make them a budget item for next year's budget and do it right, because I don't think, I would put it, I don't think we're being all inclusive. There's other groups in our communities. I know my wife is going to 3 arts and crafts shows this year in different places, and I think there's a lot more to it than one organization. And if we're going to support it as a budget item, we should be able to identify why we're doing it to the public and include everybody and have a strategy and a plan moving forward. I'm not against getting 25,000 if the budget's 50,000 or whatever, but if we're going to do it, I just think we need to do it right. I think we owe it to ourselves and the public and the arts and crafts organization to do that. That's all I need to say. I want to say. I just think we need to do it right.
I'll just say this much. I voted in favor of giving them the money, but I also know that it's not until next year's budget. So I don't think there would be any harm in having them come in and do a presentation.
We should. I think.
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
No problem with that at all. So I think it's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
If you were.
So delaying the decision until after they come in and make the presentations makes perfect sense.
That's not quite where I was necessarily. I absolutely would appreciate them coming in, learning more about what they're doing, what I can do better to promote them in terms of what I already know that they're doing. So I understood that we were removing the motion, but I didn't understand that we were necessarily delaying. So I would.
Well, that decision hasn't been made. I'm just saying that it would make sense to me to have them come in and do a presentation and ask the questions related to their budget before we did the budget. That's all.
Because I don't remember that they actually asked for that amount of money.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't. So we came up with that amount of money.
Yeah.
Or
I don't see the harm in having them come in and do a
No
presentation
harm at all.
and ask, what is your financial situation? What is it you need?
I think it's proven that to come in.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. I think that's a good suggestion.
so
Not,
what do we do since there's a motion there?
We haven't made the motion. All we'd be doing is deferring it until after they come in and make a presentation. It's not changing it, it's not doing anything, it's just letting them come in and talk to us about it.
Right, because it's not really approved until it goes through
That's
council.
correct.
This is just a recommendation.
Pardon me?
This is just a recommendation.
Yes,
So we just don't deal with it until they come in.
I'm fine with that.
Does anybody have a problem with that?
No, I don't, no, if that's what, you're not gonna move ahead with the motion.
Counselor Ace, if you weren't at Forest Heights
Oh, that's
last week.
No, I don't,
It's
yeah.
just, I understand why,
Yeah,
it wasn't negative.
That's okay.
Yeah, but, and unfortunately, the live stream didn't work, so you weren't able to.
No,
go back. That's fair
tried.
too, that's
Yeah, I
fair
tried
too. Things happen, absolutely, it's not like that. But, so I didn't know if you had any questions as to how we arrived and landed on that, knowing that Sue would come in during major project deliberation, and we had talked with her a couple times, just to be fair.
Yeah, but we haven't really heard from them. No, I don't see them harm in having them come in and tell us what they're up to and what their budget requirements are.
Well, I can say that I think that they actually have been in and they have told us what they're up to. And when they requested the capital monies,
But they
They
didn't,
did an extensive presentation about what they were all to, which was almost all outreach into every district in our municipality.
but they didn't formally ask for this money, and I think that have a discussion with them. And
They didn't put a number on it.
I said
They
the
did actually make a
opportunity to-
request for
For a
money.
line item.
They did actually make a request for money. They just didn't say that the amount.
no,
It's up to us to determine their worth, as we do with every request.
well, I voted in favor of it, and they may well still do. I just don't see the harm in having them come in and do and answer questions for us.
I think along with that, I mean, I'm agreeing with Pastor Vino. If this is our mandate, we're going to move that forward. I think it's a great idea, but why don't we do a strategy? There's other organizations out there, and why don't we have a budget for that whole sector? And have staff do some work on it and bring it into us and do it right. Because like I said, there's all kind of craft and people doing craft in our municipality, not just one group. So why don't we do it right? I don't know how to say it.
These people aren't doing crafts. This is a
No,
different. This is a
Yeah,
different.
this is your craft share.
But it's all,
It's ours.
it's all the same, in my view, there's other groups that doing arts and crafts and that type of work. And are we just gonna say exclude them? And I'd rather have someone come back and say, yeah, they don't belong here, they do belong here. There's groups in my community, there's groups in Blanford, and I just honestly don't know what that all means. I'm not that up on it, I don't understand what that all means. If we're gonna, I guess, support that sector, which I agree with 100%, I just think we need to have more detail and do it right. Maybe I'm wrong.
And maybe the suggestion, if, maybe Sue will want to go back and look at the list, probably listen to the live stream today, which is fair. And maybe as part of that, she could do an outreach herself and reach out to say somebody like Peter Cullen at the Ross Farm, I'm just saying, or maybe down at Ocean
How
Sweats.
they're working with them.
Absolutely,
All that
and
kind of
have them come in, because it's much better, as we all know, to have somebody speak on our behalf. We're all elected officials, we know that, than ourselves. So, because I know that, as
Well, I know they
part
work with other groups, but I mean, if there's questions that people want answers to, or
Sure.
give her the opportunity to respond.
Yeah, I mean, they did make a fulsome presentation to us, and if anyone was interested, you go back and watch it.
Yes, I was here.
The having them in, quite happy to have them in and talk to them. Still gonna support them, but to look at it in more depth and ask some questions again.
Like
It's a reasonable request that the deputy warden's made. But I think to suggest that they haven't made the ask is not fair. I think just go look at the tape and see if they can.
Yeah, we don't have a formal letter from them saying we would like to be added to the list, and at this and that, we do not. And that doesn't matter to me, I still vote for it.
There was a letter from them.
Yes, it is a letter, but it's,
I guess if they were told what the magic word would be, they would have added it to the
Sure.
letter, but.
But I mean, I just don't see the harm in having them come and do a presentation and have give people the opportunity to ask about the budget. Okay, is this I assume that $500,000 for capital work too, which is sang financial planning on their behalf.
As I said, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I just want to make sure that they demonstrate that they were in, they made a full presentation. They're very vital.
And the idea of, the idea of a broader concept of how we deal with the arts community may be a different
We may
matter.
increase the number.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So are we gonna have them come in before we decide? or-
Yes.
Okay, let's just do that. Okay, six. I would do that. Which agenda review? Oh, yeah, 6.2 recreation parks. Councilor Vino.
One item here, the Working Parks Committee is asking the council would become a signatory on adopting the anti-racism charter. I think you all, well, some of you, no, none of you have a copy of it.
Yes.
Oh, here you go.
Yes, we do.
Right here, I think this is, I think it's a number of rep groups are are undertaking this to ensure, that we have equality and diversity in our and rec services. And I think if you've read it, it speaks for itself. So
Just got it, so I haven't read it yet, but
well, you can imagine it's not something I don't think you'll find it to bed.
totally agree. There's a lot.
Yeah, we, with our, just team knows, we had our EDI meeting and looking at this, there's a lot of things that work put into this that we can actually access and pull out for, within our committee to, because they're looking for a similar thing, I think, Tina, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of information in here.
There was an official motion, we just don't have the minutes, which are fine, because
That's
Bella
right.
and I were both there.
So they're just looking to follow.
Yeah, and there was a motion of support, official mover and seconder at our EDI committee meeting a week ago.
Yeah.
Non-council members moved and seconded, so it's community members, which is very important. So certainly wholeheartedly, yeah, it was a very lengthy, wonderful, wholesome, heartfelt discussion that we as a committee had.
Derek,
Is this a provincial initiative or a Canada-wide initiative? There's a lot of discussion on this and
I think it's
it's fortunate.
I think it is, it's provincial for sure. I think it may have been
It's got a
funded
Canada.
by Canada.
It was led through Recreation Nova Scotia, so they're the one that did all the work behind it, and so it is rolling out. It was announced at the Recreation Nova Scotia conference that happened in October, and so it has rolled out province-wide. I think there is about maybe 3 or 4 municipalities that have signed on already, but that there will be others, and then the work was also provided to the Canadian Parks and Recreation Association as well. And so there's interest to have this roll out nationally as well. So Nova Scotia, and if council proceeds, municipality of Chesterfield will one of the early adopters and the leaders in some of this work. So it's kind of nice to be on the leading edge of this as it rolls out across the province and across the country.
we're usually close to the first people who do these things.
Yeah, no, just a little bit, I've been able to read through this. I mean, this is necessary. I think it's timely and I totally support it.
Okay, well, I'll move that the Municipality of Chester becomes signatory on the Simpson Charter for Recreation.
Second motion.
Discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion's carried. Public presentations, I'm not aware of any this year.
Church
Memorial.
Yeah, I just have an update on Church Memorial Park on the committee.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah.
Just, we met Tuesday night, we've been meeting regularly, but I guess there's a few developments. They struggled to get employees and they finally hired a senior refrigerator and rink operator. And it's important that someone have that refrigeration ticket. They can easily get employees, but they don't have them. And then they struggle to get it once they're employed often. So that's a really good move.
Danny was in the middle of that, was he not? Did he finish it? Is he still there?
He is, but he hasn't completed that.
Hasn't completed it. Okay, he was working.
Yeah, and I guess it's not
Not
an easy course,
No,
so.
absolutely.
And they've had some challenges. The ice rentals are up, but they lost one full day because of that power outage. And the condition of the ice wasn't good after, but for a couple days, and the machine broke once, the ice.
Zamboni.
Yeah, so they've had some issues, but they're doing well. The rentals are up from minor hockey, and TAS have rented quite a bit. And the high school hockey was doing actually quite well. And there's a lot of people coming in to watch the games. But from the board's perspective, they're doing a review of the Blue Lamb beans. They hired a company to inspect them and do a real scientific inspection. I guess it's WRD company. He's going to, give us some scientific data to know whether those Blue Lamb beans are moving more than, I think it was 5/8 separation, because if they have to do some restoration, and what they want to do is be able to extend the life of the rink. And if that doesn't pass, then, you know,
Whole different ball.
it's a whole different game, but they're trying that route, and Stantec are also doing at the same time a condition on the building, because it's no good to fix one thing if the condition of the building is, you know, beyond repair or something like that. I don't think it will be, but they're actively working on that, and hopefully in the, that's going to be done after Christmas. And hopefully by April, they'll apply for the, you know, revitalization grant, which is up to 150,000 if, you know, depending on what they need to do to fix the problem. They're monitoring it, but it just can't be left that way, as you're aware. They have to remediate it, I guess,
Or decide what to do.
or decide what to do. And they can't do it without the information. So this company is going to give some, you know, information that they need, and then Stantec will continue their review, because they weren't able to do it.
Who would provide the revitalization grant?
It's the province.
Province.
And of course, they'll apply for whatever else, you know, is happening. It's just that they had conversation
Has
with
there-
the province on that, and they were hopeful that, you know, they would be able to get that.
Has there been any discussion on the board, I'm sure there has been, about eventual replacement of the rink?
No, well, they hope that is not going to happen for a bit, but,
No, I understand. We all hope that.
well, yes, that will be, once this information comes
My
in.
question is, if they did have to replace it, would they be able to replace it on that same site? And would it be shut down for, if it got to having to be replaced, it would mean that that one would have to come down and a new one put on that site, which means it'd be gone for at least 2 years, maybe more.
They, to be honest, they haven't gone that far.
Haven't gone that far, good, so
Wait,
that's a good sign.
They're waiting for this,
Yeah.
you know, report, and if it comes back really negative, then it's gonna be Plan B. And that, you know, that's a different matter. They're hoping that they can extend the life of the rink by,
I guess I just
Number
didn't
of
know how
years.
far along Plan B that we're looking as well, because eventually that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's.
and it's all the
hopefully not-
capacity,
Not in the next 2 years.
the capacity of this board, I don't think could take that on.
Yeah,
Andre.
I'm just, I want to follow on that train of thought a bit. Should the report come back somewhat favorable, how long do they hope that the lifetime will be extended? You know, like, are they hoping that they'll get another 10 years out of it?
I think so, yeah, 10 to 20 years.
How do-
But I mean, I don't know, Andre, that's to be determined, but, you know, at least, you know, 10 years or more.
Yeah, it just seems to me that if one were planning to rebuild a facility, it takes like potentially in the range of 10 years, like
Just to get there.
just to get, they should be creating a committee to start looking at a replacement regardless. And I
I know,
I feel like it may be this capacity of this board isn't, or they don't want to take that on, but that they should be at least appointing some people or talking about it. Because it seems like whatever the outcome is, a plan, like building seems like it's at the end of its, near the end of its life, and at some point we have to start talking about it.
well, I mean, technically it is at the end of its life, if you look at it that way, just as other rinks like Lunenburg Arena is. But they're hoping to extend the life, and I honestly, I don't think this board would have the capacity to be a major fundraising board.
I guess we should wait for the.
I think we
report,
better wait for the report.
Yeah, and see what it says, and then I think there may be a council may in fact have to get involved.
Yeah, they're going to come in and give us an update on that. Yeah, they plan to do that once they know the information.
We may have to assist them in getting the capacity to look at what the options are.
Yeah.
I'd just like to ask you, like with these committee reports, we hear a lot of stuff. What about the curling rink? Like so falls under the same building? What kind of shape is that in, or do they have, you know, I don't know how that would work.
They're pretty good.
Are they?
I think their ice is good. At the same time, the rink, the skating park had the disruption. Obviously, they did too, because that was the day we had no power and, but I think that their membership is stable. It might have increased a bit, but they rent the facility from the board.
Okay, I wasn't sure how that worked. Okay, so I guess if they, if they decide to look at another facility, I'd assume it would be the same thing. It would consist of a curling rink and a hockey rink in some capacity, I would think. I mean, you can't, you couldn't just get rid of the curling rink. I mean, that's,
No.
so that would be some,
It's all part of the same.
it's all part of the same. I mean, it's wonderful, location. I mean, to build anything there and, I
All we
mean,
gotta do is fix up that road.
well, I wonder, Derek, if, I mean, the board knows, but, or Andre, you may even as an engineer, could it, in an ideal world, it would be nice to build it now, I mean, and in the same location, but just in a different spot, without tearing the old one down. There's probably enough land up there to do that, and someone could, I would, that's what I would say, I mean.
Yeah, that's beyond today, though.
I know, but.
It is, that's long.
But the thing of it is, this should have been started 20 years ago, unfortunately.
Wow.
Well, anyway, they're in the process of
Yeah, I
doing
know.
the evaluation. Once you get the evaluation, you'll know whether or not they have 20 years to think about it or 10 years to think about it. No doubt.
Just for the record, I think they're doing a very good job. I think there's some good people on that.
Oh, absolutely.
The fact that they may not be the fundraising board, that would be normal. You usually appoint a professional to lead the fundraising because of the millions they would need to raise. So I just want to thank you for serving on that board and thank them for their service. I think they're doing wonderful work.
Thank you, Derek. I know that the last big fundraising thing that they do, Gail Rayfuse was the chair. And they were very fortunate to raise, $1 million or so, but that took a lot of effort. This is going to be times 10.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So on to 8.1, first notice adoption of asset management policy.
Just any questions for Manny?
I don't know.
We'd be happy to,
We discussed this already.
Sure, we've already done it. We just, it's a question of whether somebody wants to move, we get first notice.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thanks,
Great
Andy.
job.
Yeah.
Good job.
You responded to that well. 8.2, second and final notice. Amendment policy P33, terms of reference, registration of firearm emergencies, service providers. Well, let me again.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor, opposed, motion carried. Okay. 8.3, bylaw request for direction, community development, recreation, uniform signage program, uniform signage bylaw.
Morning, council. So we're back with our uniform signage program. So a few weeks ago, I believe it was Councillor Shepard had brought up the pilot project that we've been working on with uniform signage. There was some interest expressed around the table that perhaps it's time now to move beyond the pilot phase and to look at expanding the uniform signage program more broadly within the municipality. And so the intent of this report is just to bring back some information to help us kind of decide next steps and where to from here. So I want to run through all the background. I think you are pretty much aware of the background of this program, but just to say that the intent of the program was to really help clean up the signage issue in the community, so that the sign clutter issue, and as well to provide wayfinding for the traveling public, in particular those visitors and tourists of the community.
Can we put the picture on?
Yeah, yeah, we can scroll down.
The next one.
So
I
then-
think it's picture good as 1,000 words.
Yeah, so that's the difference. So the,
Yeah,
obviously the
absolutely.
photo at the top is exit 6 after the pilot project has been implemented. And the intent was to clean up the mess because that exit looked very similar to exit 7, what you see in the bottom photo, which exists right now. So that kind of day and night a little bit. So I think the pilot has worked well. It hasn't been perfect, obviously, and we'll run through a
It's taken a long
few
time.
issues, and it has taken a long time. But we believe that it has been successful. So just a few things. So in terms of positive responses, so I think that there's a positive response there. So I think there are folks in the community that do appreciate approaching that exit and not seeing kind of the mass kind of blob of signs that you would have seen at that particular exit. We did have a fair number of applications. We had over 15 applications of businesses that were interested in participating. So I think that's good, and that was just one location. And as well, we talked, it's another opportunity for us to get our branding out into the community and to be visible in the community in terms of tourism and in support of our local businesses. We do have some lessons learned, the provincial approval. So we do know that took a significantly long time to reach that approval. And so I guess one of the lessons learned with that is we would try to work with our municipal advisor early on in the process and to help use that advisor to guide us through and ensure that any additional updates to the bylaw that we would try and get those through perhaps a little quicker than before, but we do require that. We know that we need to work closely with, especially Public Works, so they regulate the signage within the highway right of way, and so they're a partner, and of course ensuring that we follow proper process for updating our bylaws as well. So a little bit of a lesson learned there. Second, the signage installation. So we did run into some problems that these signs are a little bit bigger and the installation was a little bit more challenging than we initially anticipated. So we did definitely run into some challenges when it was time for signs to go in the ground. So there's definitely some lessons learned with that. And so essentially what we need to do, we discover what we need to do with these is to have a company do the installation for us, somebody that would have proper equipment. And in this case, somebody with a bucket truck so that they can safely install these signs because they are fairly large and high off the ground. So that was a lesson learned. Thirdly, the sign removal. So we had really good intentions. We thought we had everything lined up perfectly, that the day that the old signs come down, the next day the new signs go up. So unfortunately, with some of the delays in the sign installation, that didn't happen kind of as simultaneously as we would have liked it to happen. So in future, I think one of the lessons learned is that we would ensure that the new signs are actually installed and up prior to removing the other one. So yeah, that is definitely a little bit of a lesson learned in procedure. Lastly, not everyone supports the program, so it wasn't 100% positive feedback. We know that there are businesses in the community that can no longer post their signs. So obviously, there's a reason why people post their signs in these locations. They're prime locations, right? They're places where people are coming to a stop sign and they're in their view. So there's a reason why people put their signs there. So some of the businesses that don't fit into that tourism category do not then have the ability to post their signs where they may like, and they also do not have an option to participate in our uniform signage program. So there was a little bit of a gap there, but we tried to work through that. So any of those businesses that did contact us that were in that situation, we're going to refer them to our economic development staff to look at other options, such as being part of our local business directory, those types of things. So and we're all the tourism businesses happy to be involved with this because it's essentially forcing them if they want to put their signage up in this area, they're required to be part of our program. I don't think there was probably not 100% agreement that was the way to go. But that usually is the case when these types of things, you don't have 100% buy-in. So I just wanted to flag those as topics that we need to
I think it was a pilot project. And we knew there was going to be some bumps along the road, which there was, and we dealt with them, but I do agree the lessons learned the next time, next intersection, if we go that way, we'll know to do better. But I had very little negative feedback from this whole project. A few businesses, but general public, I've had a lot of great comments to see that cleaned up. And some of the businesses, it's like change, sometimes people don't like it, myself sometimes included. But they're buying into the program now and they see the benefit from it, and everyone's treated equal. So they all get the signage, and I think it went over quite well in my community. I can't speak for the next one, but it went over quite well. So thank you, and as I know it's been trying for a few months, some of the issues, but I think it's been a really good experience, and the next intersection, if we do it, will be much easier, I would say.
No,
You keep saying if we do it.
I'm not sure we are, we just had a discussion.
I know, but
well, that's what we're
I
here.
think the will is to do it, right?
Well, I'm hoping it is, yes.
Can I have a question on the sign? Note on the sign, it's 4 businesses.
Mhm.
Is that the limit that you can have on a sign? Do you have more than one sign?
So there's multiple signs, so 4 is the limit, that's the way they were
Per sign.
designed per sign, yeah, and then they, so I've mentioned that we have 15 businesses, so the first 4 are located on the first sign, and then you travel down the road a little bit further, and then there would be the next sign.
You don't have pictures of those other ones?
I do not, and that was some of
That's
the,
fine.
some of them were just recently
No, that's
installed.
fine. Just
Yeah.
thought it did- maybe that's not.
They just were put up this week.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I better drive by.
Andre?
Better go down tonight, or still late.
I'm all for this change. If I recall, when we rolled it out in Hubbard's as a pilot, we did an extensive engagement with the business community.
Yeah.
Hubbard's an area business association. So I would,
Sure.
I would recommend that we follow the same process where first we engage with Chester Municipal Chamber of Commerce, the Chester Merchants Association, any other relevant groups, and determine, or at least get their feedback and make sure that they're aware that this, the last thing we want to do is just roll this out and then it comes as a big surprise to everybody.
Yeah, Gina?
I can't speak for those other groups that Andres just mentioned, but my guess would be is that they have met with them. They did meet when Garth came in. Emily may recall, I don't know. For example, they met with the New Ross Regional Development Society, right? So they have done that outreach. I just don't know which groups, but again, maybe to refresh, but as part of this, they have initiated that big engagement already and have checked that off the list. So I don't know.
Well, then they could update us on that, but I think all he's saying is that if we're gonna choose another intersection, we should at least have that discussion.
So a second discussion with them.
Because at the
I think
time,
it has
we weren't talking about changing her.
It doesn't matter much to you if you're in Chester and it's affecting folks in Hubbard's and you don't have any signs down there.
Yeah.
So how engaged are you really gonna be?
I'm just indicating, bringing to the table what's taken.
Oh, yeah, I think they did have, just, I agree with Tina, they did have some, but it's just that if we're gonna now pick another intersection to go forward with, then the businesses that are directly impacted, we should have that discussion.
For sure. And so I think that's another kind of point of discussion for today is what is the area that we're interested in rolling out in the next steps? And so that could be anything from as broad as we're going to do the entire municipality. It could be a little bit somewhere in the middle where we're going to focus on Highway 3, or it could be somewhere in between, or it could be the exit. So we know that the intent of this one was specifically, we're really interested in that exit. So I mentioned in the report that one of the considerations is if council decides to just focus on the exits, there is always that situation that groups, businesses would then install their signage wherever the extent of that boundary would be. So it would clean up that clutter that we just looked at exit 7. It may get rid of that, but those signs may just move to the extent of where our boundary is. As long as council's aware of that most likely there will be some of that would happen, that businesses could decide not to participate and just relocate their signs. So that could happen. Most likely would happen.
Andre had his hand up.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, I just wanted to say my recommendation would be we roll this out. I think the purpose of the pilot was to see if it was going to work out. The report we just received was that aside from a few little glitches, it more or less worked out. So we know, let's do it. Well, there's no reason to keep phasing it. this point, I'd say that we've learned what we need to learn. Let's go.
Yeah, but I mean, how big do we want to go here? One, how big, you know, because there's a limit of capacity. Staff.
I'm not really referring to the ability to for them to carry out the work, but in terms of our willingness to roll it out.
Well, yeah, and I agree, I want to roll
I think that we should make the decision personally, if we're happy with the result, and
it, give us
to
some priorities.
set this as a goal. And staff can come back and say how fast they can do it, that's up to them.
Yeah, I agree. It should be changed. And get, we can do each exit. We can pick an exit a year if that's the
Yeah.
choice, or if that's too busy. One of the complaints I did get from several of the business owners in Harvard's area was it wasn't consistent. That they were being treated different than exit 7 and exit 8 and exit 9.
I think we should probably try to do those exits first, I mean,
Yeah.
that makes sense, and then you move on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the highway 1 and 3 exits makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah, 7, 8, 9.
yeah, you do those first, and then you just keep moving on. Yeah. Oh, sorry, who hit their hand?
Sharon.
Oh, Sharon did.
No, but I just agree. I think we should go from maybe do exit 7, then 8 and 9. Makes sense.
And then move, and then determine which ones come next.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that was my understanding. I didn't bring my file with me in terms of the discussion that we've had in the staff reports to this point, but I'd have to go back and look. But I had thought that it was just the exits
Well, that was our.
right to this point. So that was the engagement that took place with those community groups and with those business organizations. That would be my, again, I might be wrong, but that would be my understanding that that is what the message, what that was given to our businesses, that it was the exits only.
Yeah, that's.
So then we're now changing, which is fine, we can change, but that message is new and different, would have to go back out if we're talking that. And as well, it kind of scares me how much more staff, because in addition to putting this in play, we take down the old signs. That's a lot of, that's not that we're adverse to doing stuff, but that's a lot of time, a lot of staff, a lot of us, whoever's gonna do it, getting rid of that, all those signs throughout the entire municipality. So I'm just saying.
I think we stick with the exits
Yeah.
that we had originally
Yeah.
said, because that's gonna take us some time.
Well, that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
ask. I
And
want
then
to be
just
clear that it's just the exit. So I
Yeah.
have to think more about if it's gonna be the whole municipality.
No, so just start, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Just give that direction to Chad and tell him to tell, what can you accomplish next year and what do you need put on to the whole meeting? Based on the resources you have.
There's no timeline laid out in this report.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah, so that was just some estimates that we attached. I think that was part of the direction from council is like, you know, what kind of timeframe could this be done under? And so we tried to, you know, give a general idea. And of course, there's lots of things that can happen. We know, you know, the amount of time that it took for the provincial approval. So if we happen to get stuck in that stage again, if that timeline could be completely thrown off the course as
Yeah.
any typical project could do.
Yeah, so we want you to move forward with these.
Would it make sense when you're asking for these approvals to
Ask
ask
for all of
the
them at
exits?
once?
All from once, I would think.
One application, yeah.
Yeah, ask for all of them,
Go for it.
the exits, yeah.
Okay, so what we can do is we can take that direction and do some more thinking on it and put some more information together on what this program could look like if we rolled it out at just the exit. So 6 is completed, so 7, 8, and 9. See what that would look like and time considerations, budget resource considerations, and some timelines.
Okay, so is that the direction we're given? I don't think we need a motion so much as. Well.
Motions are all.
Okay, make a motion, sorry, make a motion.
We really focus on all your
I know.
direction, but motions
Yeah.
certainly make it to
Yeah.
our.
They make it simpler for you when we move, who's moving? Seconded,
Thank you.
discussion, all those in favor? The motion is to proceed with the remaining exits.
Okay. 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. And they'll come back with a bit more information on what that all means. Okay,
We vote on.
Thanks, Dave.
You did? Okay,
Yeah, we got it.
okay.
You vote now?
No, I'm still here, that's all.
I knew he was from favor, so I didn't.
Yeah, no, that's-
I added that it's Sandy, right. Okay, I'm in 9.1, I believe. Infrastructure operations, cleaning of municipal sewers from pumping stations. That's interesting.
Mine too.
Good morning. There exists approximately 30 kilometers of gravity sewers in the municipality. So several years ago, a program was implemented to clean approximately 6,000 linear meters of sewer pipe a year. There was a brief pause due to COVID in that cleaning service. But we're obviously reinitiating that program. So within that program, we've got the gravity sewers, we've got pumping stations. There's some septic tanks along Walker Road. There's one in Cold River as well. And then there's some structures at the wastewater treatment plants that require cleaning as well. We sent out an invitational request for quotes to 3 contractors. We received 3 quotes back. So the recommendation is that we award that cleaning contract as a 3-year service agreement to Loomers Pumping Service Limited for a 3-year cost of $73,617.39.
Just out of curiosity, where are they from?
Loomers, they're on the other side. Where are they? Close to the Digby area, I believe. Yeah.
I just,
They're in
just got nothing to do with that, just one.
And there's a big discrepancy in bids for
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
mold.
Oh, yeah, they're way cheap.
So even just with Loomers, obviously you guys are well aware that prices are going up for everything. So there was a 60% increase from when they last submitted in 2020 for their linear meter price of cleaning to this year. So
This is different than the contract that we have for like ongoing pumping and stuff like that, like if like when our pump stations need support or
Yeah,
whatever.
the sludge removal.
Yeah, this is
This is
separate.
different,
This is just okay. Just wondering.
Hey, does anybody have any reason? I mean, they're by far the cheapest. Somebody prepared to move, we approve it.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion's carried. Thank you. Good for me. Yeah. 9.2, boundary review.
Good morning, council.
Good morning.
Okay, so this is the next, if not penultimate stage of the municipal boundary review process that council has been doing off and on throughout the year. So what we're looking for today is council's decision on one of 2 options about how to proceed with the submission to the Nova Scotia Utility Review Board. At the August 4th meeting, council had looked at 5 options of what could possibly be done around boundary review. Prior to that, just getting a clear sense of what the scope was in terms of whether there was a need and so on. So there was some discussion around all of that. And what came out of that August 4th meeting are 3 main things. Obviously there was more, but the 3 main things were: 1, council certainly noted that polling district 2 was slightly over the NSUARB's target variance for relative parity of voting power. And so that triggered this sort of consideration of those options for revision if council chose to go that way. Number 2, however, council stressed the importance of ensuring that as much as possible, communities of interest remain contiguous and not separated by a boundary line. And there was sort of several discussions around that, particularly around some of the other options around tweaks to the polling district 2 boundary. And then the 3rd point was that council did agree to put out one option that outlined minimal proposed revisions to those boundaries for public consultation, but to also decide on whether to alter or confirm existing boundaries after that public consultation work was done. So that's where we left off in August. We then went away and conducted the public consultation process using that one option. That wrapped up the end of October, and so here we are. So those two options before council right now are, this is on page 2. We have this, we can submit an application to the utility review board that proposes minimal revisions to polling district boundaries outlined in option 1B boundary revision scenario. Attached to your report, there's some supplementary mapping details, so you can have a closer look at the impact of that if you so choose. Or the second option is to submit an application to the board that proposes maintaining the current polling district boundaries, given the community of interest concerns raised by council. And those current boundaries were initially approved by the board in 2008 and reaffirmed by the board following the 2014 municipal boundary review process.
Can I ask the questions before we go?
Yeah, of course.
Let's assume we told them that we wanted to remain the same.
Yep.
And they chose not to do that. What happens? Would they pick the new boundaries or?
No, I think the process would be much more sort of consultative. So I don't know, Sam, you might be able to speak to that, how that would happen.
They would ask, they wanted to bring in 2%.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
And tell us to
We want this.
submit again.
Yeah. Okay.
Or revise their
It's just.
Yeah.
It's just,
So oftentimes we will go in with a preferred option.
Yeah.
Status quo, but we do have
Backup.
a backup. And that's not good. The difficulty you have with status quo. An argument that the community interest overrides. The percentage.
Exactly. Yeah.
Andre?
My concern with the proposed boundary change, if we were to make it, is that we're sort of severing sim settlement in half. And I believe that it is a community that has its own identity. And it will be cut in half by 2 districts. I don't think it would be the end of the world, but my preference would be to request a URB that this may impact the community of interest. As a result, we'll just maintain the status quo would be our preference. That's where I would sit on this.
Okay.
I was gonna say, keep in mind, though, they're not just looking at the static situation now, they're looking at projections forward.
Yeah.
And this report-
That's not gonna work for much longer.
That's right, this report has projections forward saying maybe this percentage
Next
now.
time it might, we might leap right over the top and we might be on the other side of sim settlement with a proposed boundary change, which would maybe make more sense at that time.
Gary?
Yeah, looking forward is difficult, of course, because looking forward, the population increase is likely to be in Sharon's district and Floyd's district. Again, increases yours. I don't see that this change does anything, moves a few of the commons houses from one to the other and splits a community. Really, we have a number of ridings or districts that are below the average. Some are being changed, some are not. I think we're just playing with numbers just so we can, keep URB happy. I don't think it does anything for us. I think I now understand the map, what we're doing. It's, as I said many times, awful difficult to read this stuff. And it's very important, just trying to figure out. It'd be nice if we had something a little larger that could be read.
Well, we can, in future, we can try and ensure we address that, Councillor Watson.
I've raised it, a number of times.
So we have the option of submitting to them that we want them to remain the same.
Yeah.
There's option 1 and option 2, if they
Make those changes. And just briefly, I mean, the sort of, I sketched the case for each option in the report, but briefly, the justification for making the proposed changes would be the fact that District 2 is above by 3.21% above that 10% variance threshold.
Yeah.
So that's the case for that. The case for
Remaining the same.
remaining the same is that looking at it collectively, our population, even though we've had an increase in the number of eligible voters, our population has remained the same ostensibly for almost 2 decades. So there's, even though there is a likelihood, as Councillor Vino referred to, is a likelihood that by the time of the next review, population in some key districts may well have increased significantly at that time. But based on what we, without the access to a crystal ball, if we're looking at patterns, the population is stagnant. And then there's the community of interest concern. So if there is one of the cases, for example, that I looked at, so the board has a test case around the community of interest piece, because in 2004, I think it was, there was a decision the board made on HRM's revisions. And so there was some concern about, yes, they were outside of that voting parity variance, but what played the trump card was that concern around community of interest. And so in that ruling, the board stressed the importance that, yes, the voting parity is a particularly important component, but at the same time, it's got to be seen in the context of some of these other elements, particularly community of interest.
And if the voter parity was way, 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 way off the map, I think, but it really isn't. It's what.
I think there's cases where the board has gone away above the 10%.
Yes.
It's
Oh,
rocked up to 25.
Yeah, and they do in the
It's justified.
exactly in the guidelines, the board stipulates that it will consider up to 25% variance, but the higher you get, the much more compelling argument you need to make.
Can we put the map on the screen?
It's one of the attachments. It should be.
Can you tell me where?
Just based on Councillor Wells and Vino's comments, I have no issue whatsoever with
I don't know.
Well, there you go.
That's a bit current, and if that doesn't work for us, then we gotta do something.
Yeah.
You wish to see one of the details, Councillor Wells?
No, I just want to see where the line is between East Chester and Concord.
We're talking about that little blue piece.
Next page. Next page.
So that's
So where's the line for East Chester on there? You know,
keep going on the next one. So the blue is the current line.
it's a current line, but
Yeah.
it's not the East Chester line.
Yeah, and then the red is the.
Scrolling down. Hmm? The community, I mean, they're stop. Only one, number 3.
So
Which property is that on? Is that the one that's number 23 on? That's what it's at.
why don't we submit it as is and see what happens?
That would be,
I think what we're doing, I understand why it's set up that way, to get down to the 10%, but from a community perspective, it doesn't make any sense.
Option 2 is the one that we the same.
Leave the same, yeah, so
Somebody will
in,
we present
Motion
option
to approve option 2.
Second.
discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion's carried. Let's take a 10-minute break, people.